we're still working on Princess of APSHAI, and I'm at a kind of a conundrum. This is a very boring part of the comic, drawing this big city. Let me show you what it looks like without the layers behind it. There it is, just the lines. And I think it's probably got problems, and I'm not sure how to fix it yet. I think I've got it slightly out of balance. And when I mean balance, I'm thinking like in the sense of lettering or something, where it's got to hang together in space. Although this won't show space. I want it to look like maybe I should go pull some of those comics up. The great futuristic cities are all in Magnus Robot Fighter in the early issues. Those city drawings are amazing. This is meant to be the Egg Palace or the Egg City. One thing I did to change up, like if you look at my roughs, I didn't ever have this giant egg shape in the middle, but I thought it would be a good idea to have a centrally focused one that's just larger than all the rest. It's looking a little bit Easter egg though, you know, because all these are all obviously eggs. I'm trying to put like little antennas at the top, things you might see on top of buildings. And then of course I've got like walkways and balconies and things like that. One thing I do kind of like is, you know, when I had my roughs on, I did it with like a watercolor brush, and that looks pretty good, like to me, although it's messed up right now. So I might go back in later and watercolor brush, but I mean, it would make a major, like that's a major design decision on panel 1 that's going to affect the rest of the entire comic. I'll have to do everything with that, you know, with the idea of doing these kind of washy backgrounds and stuff, which I'm not 100% opposed to. I always used to do space scenes that way, and this is not an outer space city. However, I'm going to break the L. I want to break the panel border here. Where is my panel border? Okay, I had committed to breaking it on this side, but I think it might be better if I break it on this side. Or I could just take the whole city and kind of shift it to the right. I think what I really do have to do is kind of push it further out. And I might be including too much detail, you know what I mean? So, we're in the wrong layer there. The formula is generally, it's like 25% a lot of detail, 50% no detail, and 25%, I don't know, medium detail or something like that. There's got to be some kind of formula. But it will look different once we get those watercolor washes in there, because we can create some depth with shadow, which I only have the one setting right now, which is all the way black. All right, let's do another tube or walkway. One of the cool things that was in Magnus Robot Fighter was you would have these kind of floating skyways. Oh, I don't like that, but maybe like that. Oh, I've been doing this with the technical pen. Get back to the rusty nib, buddy. So, you know, is that boring? Maybe. It could be. Oof, a little rough in my shading there. Yeah, I'm going to have to push it out further back that way. Maybe there's like industrial tubes and things like that for some of the traffic. The lowest levels are kind of polluted and gross, and there'll be dripping stuff. Or wastewater will be coming out, maybe something like that. What if we had like some wastewater tubes where there's just spilling water right out? I thought about looking at well, some of the obvious ones for drawing the otherworldly architecture, Kirby. Right, we could look at Asgard. We could look at the New Gods, New Apocalypse. Hmm. But I like the idea of it so far. I might even put a little caption underneath, outside of a box, that'll say Forbidden Palace of Queen, and I don't have her name yet. A couple of resources I recommend is fantasy name generators. I've been using that for D&D for a long time to get names. Oh, what's down here? I mean, you can even just put like into Google. You can go name generators for alien race or something like that, and it'll find something, and it might find something other than fantasy name generators. Pathfinder has a science fiction variant called Starfinder. And I think they have a whole name generator for that as well. One of the inspirations for my Myrdramites is from the D&D 3.5 Psionics book, which is the Dromites, which are a neuter psionic insectoid race that I always thought were really cool looking, but no one would ever let me play one of those just because it doesn't really fit into a lot of fantasy campaigns. I think if we get too small, if we start putting like lots of little egg shapes, will that be a good thing or a bad thing? Here's a little tiny egg shape, a little tiny one. I don't know. I want to get one of those panels where you kind of stop and look at it for a while and you go, oh, I wonder who could live there. Let's see, this one's. This will be contrasted, of course, with the planet of Brutalore, which is going to be part of the story very soon. Okay. I'll use my fake language, my invented language in this. I'm looking around for my sketchbook. The old one, not the. Oh, I think it's downstairs. What's the use of coming up with a fake language if you're not going to use it? Um, Something like that. Oh, I can't remember the whole alphabet. He always had a real knack for this as Peter draws, and he would do this really super complex things. I always really enjoyed those. Um, just watching those get made was fun. Interesting thing about him, I'm like 75% sure he started just by doing Zen doodles. If you look back at his earliest stuff, he's like drawing mandalas, and you know, filling in those patterns. And then he just kind of goes off and he's doing stuff on his own. I'm wondering if the real issue is line weights. Could be. Like when I have unbroken lines, that's a problem. What if I put like a device up here? Like, I'm gonna put one down here. Well, that's looking pretty good. All right, so we've broken the plane, but we haven't really broken the planes. Let's give it a real plane breaker. Like that or something. And then get back to Inky. Like this is a tower to the alien city. I've kind of set myself up for some trouble with the next page. I was starting to come up with some figure drawings for what I want to do. There's a scene where Iero pushes Illuminara into the escape pod, and I'm trying to figure out how to do that push action, like how to draw that in a convincing way. You know? Oh yeah, how about let's have some stop it. Some spikes. There's a lot of tactics we could go for. We could just, sort of overwhelm the viewer with detail. But we want it to be balanced, so there's a balanced look to it. I don't like that because it's getting in the way of my wastewater dripping off. I just told you why I needed that wastewater. All right. All right. Other things it could be balancing. How about that? Okay. That looks good. Now we have to do something drastic about our spaceship or spaceships that are coming to visit. We need to show that we need to break them out of the foreground. In fact, we might even have some sound effects. So for a sound effect, let's go with, hang on. How about, whoops, ver. Like maybe their insect type ships have different sounds. Some of them are like viz, and then someone's like ver. Whoops, what's going on there? Let me get back to what I was doing. All right, so how do we make that into sound effects? I think we need to make a new layer. I think I want to go over this not with Rusty Nib 1. Let's go with a different nib. I could do Rusty Nib 2 or Rusty Nib 4. Well, that's not good. When you're looking at your line weights, you want them all to be somewhat balanced out. Oof. Let's take a look at what it looks like without the... It's looking okay. And if it doesn't come out okay, well, that's life. Usually I give it a day to think about it, then I try something else. I kind of like the idea of just doing these as single. Whoops. All right. We could even do, let's try this. Let's try some clouds in the background. No. Why is it not doing it? How does that panel look? A little too detailed? Like when I shrink it down, it's going to be this big. All right. I'm just hatching in some texture here at the bottom, or shading. I have some luminance effects that I could probably pull off, like, and I'll give you an example of what that looks like. So, for example, over here in this, this is supposed to be like a docking portal for larger ships. We could go over here. I'm not sure I'm going to do this, but let's pretend that it's a good idea for a second. And I choose lens flares, and we'll choose like oof, not a black lens flare, a white lens flare, and make it as small. It's not very bright though. You know what I mean? It's not bright enough. What layer am I on? Let's choose a different one. I've got my choice of lens flares. Tiny. Whoops. I mean, I kind of hinted at it over here. You know, all in all, I don't think I'm going to go with the lens flares. I am going to go with... Let me get back to Rusty Nib. Rusty Nib 4, black. I like the idea of kind of shading some of these in. Looks good. Okay. How much time can we spend on this panel? Oh my gosh, I spent like an hour on this panel already. I'm going to turn into one of those guys that takes a year on a comic. Please, no. I don't want to be one of those guys. All right. Please like, follow, and subscribe. You never know what you might see on this. That's a good panel. That's a good panel, I think. And now I just got one more panel to go. Crying. All right. Extreme foreground. There we go. We're going to go. I'm going hard in the paint on the foreground. We can get, bigger outlines and such. And then we'll end this video. All right. Talk to you later. Bye. Oops. Helps if I have the button.